This is Jess Boyden interviewing Kath Warde for the RAF Stories project on Tuesday the 20th of June 2017, focusing on the Berlin Airlift. Great, so what we normally start with is if you can say your name, your date of birth and your place of birth as well.
Alice Kathleen Warde. Warde's got an E on the end. And my date of birth is the 21st of the 5th, 1926. And I was born in Ireland. But I've lived over here, so I came over when I was 18 and joined the Women's Air Force. And it all took off from there.
Brilliant. Great, that's a good start. Great, so could you tell us just a little bit of background about what the Berlin Airlift was then in general?
In general, it was just, as we all know, the Russians objected to the British, French and American being in Berlin because it was in their zone of Germany. And but they said because it's in our zone, we don't see why you should be in the capital city. But the three allies didn't agree with that, said no, being as it's the capital city, we'll share it between us. So they said, oh well, we'll make things as awkward as possible for you by stopping the trains and any other means of entrance into Berlin. So how I came to be involved was Christmas was over. This is January 1948 we're talking about. I'd been home on Christmas leave and came back and the war obviously was over and there was no excitement. Everything had gone dull and we were posted to Sutton Coldfield, which was an MU, maintenance unit. And nothing happening there, it was a bit dead. So when we came back, we'd been out, and we looked on the notice board on our way back in, and they said volunteers are required to go abroad. So we said, what should we do? Go on, let's have a go. So we volunteered for the Middle East, but they said, no, the only thing we can offer you at the moment is Western Europe. So said, well, yes, it'll be somewhere to go, something to do. So on that note, we signed up to go to Berlin. And not long afterwards, we were kitted out for Western Germany and flown out to Berlin. And we got there, and thank God, we thought Sutton Coldfield was bad. Listen, looked on their notice board, there was nothing on except the funeral. So he said, oh, we'll go with somewhere to go. So we went to this funeral for somewhere to go. But I needn't worry, the excitement soon began. The Russians stopped the trains and any other means of entrance to Berlin. So the only way in, as you probably know, is by air. So they said, oh yeah, trades, we're looking for trades, men and women. So I was a qualified aircraft electrician. So they said, right, we'll have you. But I actually worked on passenger planes, Dakotas, because the men electricians worked on the freight. So they could give a hand with any heavy lifting as well as they're doing. So I wasn't on the freight, I was on the passengers. Excuse me. So anyway, yeah, there it was. So of course it got more heavier and heavier. At one point there was a plane coming in every 3 minutes with freight. Coal came in from RAF Stafford. For the few years previous we were fighting the Germans and now we're feeding them. So anyway, but then the German civilians, they helped with lifting the freight as well, taking it off the plane and what have you. So, as I say, we, they, you know, they stopped everything. There was no, all leave was cancelled. We couldn't have leave, except if it was really compassionate, like, say, a near relative, parents, or any near relative died. That was the only time we got leave. But I had been home for Christmas anyway, so anyway, they got more, what should I say, more busier, for want of a better word, than ever, because we had all these, as I said, playing every 3 minutes at one time, so it really got more hectic. So we needn't have worried about excitement. We got plenty of it afterwards. And nice with companionship, you know, we all stuck together. And we took no notice of the Russians. But they could come through Berlin at any time without any warning, because they claimed it was their city. So they didn't have to, they could just came in with the big tanks or whatever, you know, took no notice of us. But we took no notice of them, so, and then we had the naffy. So we had our own naffy where we could go and have a drink and a dance and a chat. Anyway, that went on to say, another point I'd like to make was the birth of Prince Charles. He was born, as you would probably know, in November 1948, which was during the airlift. And we were on 24-hour shifts at this stage. We were on 24 hours on, 24 hours off. I had just completed a 24-hour shift. You know, I got back into my little bed. Oh, thank God for that. Corporal comes down the corridor. Everybody out in the parade ground, Princess Elizabeth and the son. Oh, could she not have hung on a bit longer, you know? So I had to get dressed and out on the cold, it was November, cold parade ground, but that's just a little incident that happened. We got to go on a special parade, you know. So, 24-hour shifts we were on. And any VIPs who were visiting obviously didn't come in the day, they travelled over in the night. So, you know, Lord Tedder was one of them. And we played cards in the restroom in between flights. Not but that when they were coming every 3 minutes, but they were mostly freight planes. And he came in and spoke to us. Oh, you're winning, you know. So, lucky in cards, unlucky in love, you know. Real Lord Fashion. But, so anyway, that was it, 24-hour shifts. For I don't know how long, went on for quite a while. As long as the Russians chose to make it more difficult for us, which was the aim to, you know, but we weren't giving in. And their generator controlled our lighting. They were only 2 fields away, the Russian airport. What was it called, the Russian one? Anyway, they made it as difficult for us, including buzzing the planes. I saw a couple come down. Very sad. And some managed to bail out. You know, others didn't, but the pilot brought the plane in and people's shoes and handbags and everything. And like they just had to drop everything and bail out, you know. But the one I saw come down, that was very sad. However, the crew got out there. It was an American plane, but couldn't get into the American airport, Tempelhof, I think it's called. So it came into our Gatto, RAF Gatto, where we were. Where's the nearest bar? So we knew where that was. So we showed them. So they went off for a drink. And this is how it went on for quite a long time. You know, the buzzing of the planes and all that. But they didn't, you know, and some of the pilots come in the summertime then, when the summer came along, and we had a restroom where we would go in between flights. But in the summer we just lay out on the grass, and the planes coming in, our own planes, obviously, coming in. Some girls lying out there, you know. They lower down as far as they dare go, you know. But basically that was his 24-hour shifts. And
So what did you do on your average shift then? If it was just an average day, how would it start and what would you do till the end?
It would start at 8 a.m. and conclude at 8 a.m. the next day. We were there on standby for when any planes, because I worked on passenger planes, Dakotas. And obviously there had to be some passenger planes for the German civilians and anybody else coming in, you know, like emergency cases and that. And I mean, I was young then, quite young, and looked even younger, I believe. And this German woman sitting in the plane waiting for takeoff said, "Are you sure you're old enough to do this?" I said, "Yes, just shut up and get on with it."
How old were you then?
I was 21. Yeah. So we did that then. We worked at 24-hour shifts. And
so did you say you're working on the electrics and things like that?
I was an qualified aircraft electrician. I'd passed the course.
Where did you do your course? Was that before you went?
Oh yes, that was when I joined up in 1944. I did my electrician's course down in Melksham in Wiltshire, and school, number 12 School of Technical Training at Melksham. And I was a qualified electrician. Well, then I worked in this country till I went to Germany. And then, as I say, it became a bit, the war was over, no exciting, but we got plenty of it in Berlin. And the Russians, they tried every means, you know. They, they controlled our electricity. And there was nothing for them to switch the generator off, leave us in the dark. Little piddly things like that, you know. But then someone would get up and get on the piano in the naffy and roll out the barrel, you know. And, we had to sing along. Then they decided to put it back on again. So little things like that. But they never actually attacked us, because that would have been an act of war. So you see, they didn't want to go to war. We didn't either, we'd had enough. So anyway, this is how it went on. They decided then they weren't going to beat us. So we're finished. And we came back home, and I got demobbed. And that was it. That was my experience of the Berlin Airlift.
So you didn't stay with the Women's Air Force afterwards? That was it, was it?
No, I was due for demob because I had signed on for 2 years. But I saw a bit of the world and, you know, a bit of experience. It was all experience.
Yeah, no, that was great. Sorry if I was keeping quiet. I was just keeping quiet so the tape could catch everything you were saying. If I speak over it, we didn't catch what you say. So how much involvement did you have with the pilots and all that sort of side of things?
Well, they had to give a report in on landing, and if they had any problems, they put it down in a book, a report. And then, like if they had a problem, like say one of their lights had failed, and we had to mend it. We had to do an examination on the arriving of every plane that came in, and sign that we'd done that before they took off to go back again. So we had to sign Form 700. I remember it. And anything that had gone wrong, we had to repair it and sign for it, so that it was fit to fly back to the UK.
And did you meet any of the German civilians, or?
Yes. I mean, they were a defeated country, let's face it. They, as far as that, you know, and as far as everything else, they were just defeated, and that was it. So, but I mean, they were just the ordinary people, you know. They probably didn't want war any more than we did, you know.
And did you have much to do with the Americans then? I know you just briefly mentioned about the Americans.
Except for going to dances, the good jivers.
I hear that a lot. I hear that the Americans are very good dancers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's where I first learned to jive. As they'd invite us to their camp to a dance, and we'd invite them over to ours. But apart from that, I preferred the RAF boys. So, but I did meet a few Americans, but they're all very big-headed, you know. And even now they'll claim, anyone mentions the Berlin Airlift, they'll claim it was they who won it. Well, it wasn't. It was us and the French as well. They were just part of the trio. So, yeah, they were big-headed Americans.
So what were the people like that were working with you? Were they all female or your sort of age?
Mixed. They were mixed. There were just two of us, WAAF, Women's Air Force, electricians, one girl from Leicester, and there was me from Ireland. Reporter got it wrong, one of those, he put them both from Ireland, we weren't. But the other girl was English. And they were a nice crowd to work with, the male and female. But because we were female, we couldn't get promotion beyond leading aircrafts, which I was. But we couldn't go by that. I mean, there were some non-commissioned officers, like corporals and that, who, you know, we how can I put it, perhaps do a better job, but because we were female, we didn't get further than leading aircraft. Which how it was then. It's different to flying planes now. Yes, there were a nice crowd that we worked with, and I actually met a nice airman there, went out with him all the while I was there. But it finished when he got him mobbed and I got it, you know. But that sort of helped, having a nice RAF airman.
I'm sure it did.
It certainly did, yeah.
So did the British public know much about the airlift when it was happening, or was it kept quite quiet?
No, it wasn't. It was publicised. It was in there at all, because people were sending, my parents got a letter from somebody in Canada who came from my hometown, and they said, my dad, this, you know, or giving an account of what I was doing, and, you know, so it was well publicised of the press, yeah.
Great. And did you get any recognition for your involvement?
Yes, I've got a medal. I have got a medal for taking part in the Berlin Airlift, as well as a war medal. So I've got 2 medals.
Yeah, that's great. What do they look like then?
Do you want to see them?
I'd love to, yeah, if you've got them.
Cabinet, left-hand side. The
This one here.
bottom one on the left. I had them out for VE Day. Well, his neighbour, he was an aircraft electrician.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and did his training at RAF Cosford, but he's about 10 years younger than me, so he wouldn't have been there for the airlift. But he was quite interested. Mm.
Oh, wow. It's a lovely medal, isn't it?
Mm. Yes, they stuck that up for the airlift people. Only about 10 years ago, not straight away they didn't.
Great, I'll have to take a photo of that if that's okay.
Oh yes,
Do that
you
in
do whatever
a
you
minute.
want.
I'll ask you a couple more questions first though. So I wanted to know if you had sort of a funniest memory of whilst you were there.
Funny? You mean
Yeah.
funny, peculiar, or funny? Ah.
Just something that was funny that happened that made you laugh. Because we're looking for sort of like little anecdotes as well about what life was like with the RAF.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I'm sure I must have done.
Not to worry if not, because I've got lots of these sort of
Oh
things.
yes, this boyfriend I had in the restroom with Mrs. M between flights. Pardon me. So of course I went in the restroom with this RAF boy who was a flight mechanic. And we were having a little snog in the restroom, and who walked in but the padre, my priest. So he sent me on a moral leadership course to Hanover.
Oh wow.
He called me snogging.
And you had to go on a course for that?
Well, moral leadership, for my morals, yes. Yeah. The funniest thing, I think. There must have been other incidents, but it was a long time ago.
No, that one is funny, because you can't imagine that now, can you, being sent away to do a moral leadership?
Probably asked for a snog myself now.
Yeah, oh, that's great. And do you have a memory of when you might have felt most afraid, if you ever felt scared during your time?
No, not in Berlin, no.
Okay. And was there any moments that were particularly challenging for any reason?
In what way challenging?
Anyway, really, anything that you found a bit hard, or that you had to learn something difficult, or maybe just being away from home, things like that?
No. I just took it as it came.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And what did you enjoy most about your involvement?
The fact that I was doing something to defeat communism. I'm very much anti-communist. And all that was helping, because if the Russians had, had gone and got anywhere. No, just I felt I was helping to defeat communism.
Great, yeah. And so when you joined up, and you said before it was because you wanted a bit of an adventure, was there any other reasons why you joined up, or was that the main one?
Couldn't get a job at home. No work. And I was with a Nancy who had a business in Dublin, ladies' hairdressing, and she was going to train me, and all this was going to be mine one day. She was only using me to take my cousin for a walk in the pram, and what I call skivvying, general skivvying, polishing the floors and stuff like that. So she was only using me. So I thought, as soon as I'm 18, I'm off to England, and I did.
What did you do when you first got to England?
I first got to England. I had to go up to Belfast to join because Ireland was neutral, so there wasn't a recruiting office. So I had to go up to Belfast, Northern Ireland, to join a recruiting office there. So they recruited me, and then I waited for my papers to come through, and I had to get Dad's permission. He didn't want me to go, but I managed to persuade him. Because I was 18 then, the age of consent then was 21, so I had to have his permission. So anyway, I finally got his permission. He said, "Don't bring any trouble home here," and I didn't, meaning. So I didn't. Anyway, that was it then, set sail. We had to come over from Belfast to Scotland, to Stranraer. So we did, and then travelled down to Wilmslow in Cheshire, where we did our initial training. Square bashing, as we used to call it. And it reminds me now, which is just incidental, my daughter tells me to do these exercises because I've got osteoporosis. And said, "You've got to move, you know." So God, it's like being back in the RAF again. She has me marching now as well, you know. So, but square bashing in Wilmslow, initial training, and then down to Melksham, Wiltshire, which is a number 12 school of technical training. And I did my electrician's course there and passed it. 6 months of that. And then I got posted to RAF Little On, which is just down the road, you may know, because I had relatives in Stafford. So, oh, excuse me, I got posted to RAF Little On. It was all right. I made some good friends there. But then I got various other postings up to Cheshire, 2 different camps in Cheshire, and Sutton Coldfield. But as I say, that was a bit dead. So that's when we decided to go to volunteer. We volunteered for Western Europe, but they didn't want our trade at that particular time. So we went to Berlin, and the only excitement, as I say, was the funeral. But we went to that because there was somewhere to go.
So what made you choose to do the electrician side of things?
Well, I had a choice of doing that or instruments, you know, like ammeters and all that they have on planes. Instrument or electricity I couldn't do wireless operate because of an ear defect. The hearing was a bit bad, so I said, "Oh, may as well, I'm an electrician." Yeah, I fancied it.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting thing to do anyway. And so did you have a uniform that you had to wear? What was that like? Yeah.
Sorry, what was the other question?
What was it like? What did it look like?
Yeah, it'd be there on the photos.
One of these pictures,
yeah.
So when was that taken?
Oh, now you're asking me. I was in my 20s, about as much as I can say.
Was that taken for the RAF then, was it? Or was it a different...
Yeah, it's just for my own civilian, for my own personal information.
Did you have a moment where you were particularly proud of what you'd done or proud of yourself?
Yes, especially when I was dismissed from parade for being the smartest RAF on parade. Having said that the previous parade, I think it was once a month or something like that, I wasn't putting my arm, your arms are supposed to go as high as the waist in the person in front of you. and mine didn't, because I had this blue, it was winter, big heavy overcoat. Well, you can't put, you know. So I got told off for that. So the next time, I didn't have to wear it over because it wasn't cold. So I was just in my tunic and skirt. And he said, that woman there pointed at me and said, oh, what have I done now, you know. And he said, smartest WAAF on parade, dismissed. So I was dismissed from the parade. I thought, well, that's better than telling me off. Yeah, well, I was quite proud of my uniform.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you mentioned a bit about your father not being happy about you going initially. I was going to ask you what your family thought about your involvement and when you came back, whether they had any feelings or thoughts about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, they were glad to see me back. And when I was a teenager, I was a bit stubborn. And I remember Dad saying, God rest him, oh, you won't be in 5 minutes till you're in trouble, or till you're, you know, court-martialed was the word. So I'll show him. So I came out with a good conduct badge. I thought, there, how about that, you know? So I got a good conduct badge as well as my other attributes.
Great.
Especially where it appeared in the national newspapers, you know. So I thought, oh God.
What was that? You were in the national newspaper, did you say? And why was
Over
that?
here as well, because when the pilots would come in, they'd bring us the Daily Telegraph or whatever and show us the write-up about us, yeah. You know, those girls out there.
Great. So, got just a couple more questions. One is, can you describe the role that the RAF has played in your life? So what did it do for you in those early years?
I saw a bit of the world that I wouldn't have seen normally. If I, you know, got Auntie Peg's business and all that, stuck in the hairdressing saloon, you know, 9 in the morning to whatever time at night. No, I saw a bit of the world.
Great. And how did the RAF impact your life outside of work?
How did it impact my life outside?
Outside of working in the RAF, if it did.
There is always something I should be proud of. I should always be proud of the fact that I served, yeah. And how welcome I was made to feel. I mustn't forget that. Because me coming over from Ireland, 18 years of age, didn't know a soul. I thought, would I be accepted? Would I be told to go back home or what? But they were the friendliest lot of girls I ever knew. They were so, because all the Irish were called Paddies. We were all Paddy. And they just come and knock on our door and say, we're going up to Naffy, Paddy, for a game of ping pong, and a drink, tea or coffee. You come in. So, you know, I was made to feel welcome. Yeah, so I did. I enjoyed that. Can't get over how welcome I was made to feel. They were a lovely bunch. The only trouble was that when you got to know them, next thing, posted, or they were posted. You made friends and then you, never saw them again. But now this computer age, I've got my son who is actually in computers, it's his job. He's looking up, it was through him, through Sean, that I heard about you. And, you know, he said that. And he said there are 2 more in Stafford. Whether he's not allowed to divulge or not, I don't know, but he didn't. So he said they're men. So they might have been on the freight, in which case I wouldn't have known them anyway.
So, like, overall, how did you feel about your involvement with the Berlin Airlift? What did it feel like to be part of that?
I'm very proud to have been part of it.
Great. Well, I think that's all of my questions, unless there's anything else you want to say.
Oh no, just the fact that a few years previous to that we were fighting the Germans, and now we're feeding them. You know,
Yeah.
it seems strange, but to me that was very Christian-like.
Yeah, were there any sort of feelings of hostility? Because the war had just ended, hadn't it? And people weren't that keen on the Germans. But now you were sort of looking after them.
Well, that's what I call Christianity, yes. Yes.
So did you find everybody who was working with you were very good, very Christian about it?
Yes.
Negative feelings?
Yes. Yes, I did find them, yeah. And especially children, little children going along the streets of Berlin, you know. And I used to give them my chocolate ration. Oh, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Because I knew I'd get my boyfriend's chocolate ration. So I used to give them mine. Yeah.
Did you get to see much of Berlin when you were there then?
What was left of it was razed to the ground. You know, what were big stores, big shops. No more. Sad, worst, dreadful thing. I never want to see another.
No, so was there a lot of buildings that were not there anymore?
Oh yes, most of Berlin was razed to the ground. But who started it?
Yeah, no, it must have been something to see, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something must stay with you.
Well, that madman Hitler, he led them astray, didn't he? They believed every word came out of his mouth.
Well, no, that's great. So have a look at these photos.
Mm.
So what's this one from? The one with the writing on and your picture?
I think that's the one of my grandson, no, my sister's son, what's he to me, my nephew. That's just he had to write a project for school when he was
Is this what
studying.
this is then?
Yeah, so that's what that is, yeah.
Fantastic. So it's got some, is it memories of your memories here as well? So
I think so.
Just having a quick read, see if there's anything else we could talk about from this. Well, it says a bit about VE Day. Do you remember VE Day and what you did then?
Yes. We were working away in the hangar, servicing the planes, and the sergeant came out of the office and he said the war in Europe is over. And there were screwdrivers and pliers and everyone threw the tools down, and he went back in and he came out a few minutes later and said, back to work, the war had just finished, back to work, so we had to pick up our screwdrivers. Yeah.
So it was straight back to work then?
Yes.
Couldn't celebrate
And then
from it.
that night we celebrated out at a pub in Brood. Yes, it's our experience now.
Well, it's really interesting, so thank you for sharing your memories with me.
Oh, that's all right.
For our project, we're talking to all sorts of people about all the little bits and bobs they did with the RAF or any of their families, and talking to their children who had to move around a lot and what that life was like.
Yes.
And we should be making this big online project then, which will have loads of memories about all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
So should be interesting, I hope.
Oh, I'm sure it will, yes, yeah. But, as I say, no more wars.
Yeah, have to hope for no more. It's a lovely portrait of you though, isn't it? Lovely.
Oh, those were the days.
Must have been nice to receive the medals after all the time that you put in.
Yes, and I can tell you, Prince Philip liked that one.
Oh, did he? Did you meet him then?
Yes.
What was he like?
Very abrupt and outspoken, but very genuine. What'd you get them for? You know.
So he was quite chatty?
Chatty, yeah. So I told him, it's jolly good, jolly good. This was at what you call it, Lord Litchfield's place.
Oh, Shugborough?
Yeah. On the Queen's 80th birthday.
Oh, right.
11 years ago. Because anyone from Stafford who was born the same year as the Queen was at the Borough Council. She happened to be coming on another mission that day, and the Borough Council invited all of us who were 80 to go to for tea, afternoon tea with the Queen.
I'd love to do that, I would.
And Philip was with her. She took one side of the room and he took the other, and I was on the side that he took, and he was walking along and and he came to me and he stopped. Oh, what did you get that for? So I nearly said, sitting, I said, for the Berlin Airlift. Oh, jolly good, don't think you'd ever see me, because I didn't strike it up until some years after the words afterwards. So, yeah.
Great.
So he liked that one, Philip did. What did you get that for?
He does seem like that sort of character, doesn't he?
Yes. Very outspoken, yes. But very, very nice and still handsome.
Yes, he was very handsome, wasn't he, back in
Oh,
the
he
day?
was lovely in 47 when they got married. Because I was younger then, same age as the Queen. And I thought, God, isn't she lucky? Yeah, very handsome. Still is, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, they eventually opened the railways up then, and, we were back to normal again. And our leave was back to normal. So they didn't win, that's the main thing.
Were you sent straight back home then after that, or did you have to do some more work before you left?
No, I was demobbed because I had signed on for an extra 2 years. So I was due for demob then. So, came to Stafford, got a job at the English Electric. And whole life was boring to start with, very boring. But then, eventually then met my husband and settled down and had my family in Stafford, and some of them are here to this day. Well, 2 of them, the others are scattered. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that. That was great.
That's all right. You're welcome.